There exists a cognitive bias called scarcity value. The less of something that exists, the more valuable it is. If you have a finite amount of gold and a finite amount of demand for that gold, then there might be a price relationship. If you take away from the supply, but you keep the demand, the price goes up. If the opposite is true, the price goes down. There are many issues with scarcity value. Value is not synonymous with price. How much people are willing to sell or buy are typically ranges, and people generally seek to maximize the number to their benefit in the overlap between those ranges. When there is an exchange, and only when there is an exchange, there is a realized value. Realized value is also not synonymous with the value. Before the exchange or after the exchange, which is before another potential exchange, there is a theoretical value. The theoretical value may be someone's idea of what they might be able or willing to get for the good or service. Sometimes people anchor what data they see from presumed authorities. Theoretical value is also not value. You may have noticed there are many things that are similar to value that I keep saying aren't value. Price, theoretical, realized. Colloquially, value is the expression of the worth of the thing. So if we talk about scarcity value, the lesser is it actually worth more? Well, it depends on many factors, and in the end it's highly subjective, and it's only to the individual judging the thing. If you're on a desert island and you have a box of an item that has no function to you, that item probably has no value. If you have less of that item that has no function to you, does its value really go up? So we can talk about the value of a thing and it being very circumstantial and potentially complicated. We cover the things that may often adjust the value of a thing. Is it useful? Does it have value to others? Does it reach, some minimum amount that then bears value? However, this video is intended to more focus on scarcity value in particular. The point of the deserted island example is to show that scarcity value is not always going to be applicable. Another topic scarcity value is quoted in love. What love means and the billions of forms it may take are far beyond the scope of this video. Many people have romanticized or ideal versions of love in their head and what love should mean to others. Some people actively judge others based off the use of the term. Oftentimes, these individuals will seek to artificially limit the supply of the word love to try and match its value to the romanticized notion in their head. This might be phrased in ways like, love should be reserved for X, Y, Z, or love should only be used if X. The keywords are artificially limit. When some people see a definable amount of people, they may confuse love as finite, or specifically the access to that potential expression of love might be considered finite. But then why would people using the term more closely to the supply capacity be an issue at all? That's because the nature of the amount of supply and demand is ultimately irrelevant to those with this perspective. Another side tangent that isn't covered is, how the word love is ultimately just communication of some underlying internal circumstances and not a thing itself we value, not similar to how like your passion, not like what it is, or rather the value is in what it represents, like pursuing power and things like that. And that there's a defined amount of people, and maybe seems to be like a finite amount of love, but each person may have a capacity for an infinite amount of love, and people aren't actually finite, even if they can define like a particular number at a particular point in time. People are capable of reproducing continually, like there could be infinite people, it could just never name it. So you could say there are infinite people and each person is capable of infinite love. So it's essentially a potential for infinite infinites, even if it is an undefinable quantity of love. Anyways, back to the point at hand. The perspective of wanting love to be more meaningful or like have more value is fine. The judging of others for the amount they use the term is actually also fine. Like you are yourself and your perceptions and internal experience are both unique to you, but you are limited to your own internal experiences. So seeking external circumstances that are more compatible with your internal circumstances, your desires, your values, it's sensical, it makes sense. While I won't ever suggest using coercion or force to make your external circumstance match your internal experience, because I find those things unethical, I do find it very understandable if people use means that I do consider ethical. Like, yeah, I get it. It's Gucci. Now, as you may guess, the judging of others for judging others for the amount they use the term is also fine by me. The main point of the video is actually that scarcity value is not necessarily applicable and is often misused. The use of the word love is definitely one of those times. But that is where we're going to cut this video. But there is going to be another video at some point on prescriptive versus descriptive use of words, their meanings, and my best interpretations or most favorable interpretations of both sides, and my personal views and applications coming at a later date. Something being a cognitive bias doesn't mean it's necessarily bad or invalidated. Bye.